Hello, Africa, and welcome to the AfCFTA podcast, the second episode of the second season of the AfCFTA podcast. Now, in the first episode of the second season of the podcast, which is the last episode that we had, we talked about trading in goods on the continent of Africa. We talked about market access. We talked about the rules of origin. We talked about the fact that 5,800 certificates of origin have already been issued to economic operators, and that should send a message to all of us that indeed we are at the implementation phase of the AfCFTA. If 5,800, almost 6,000 certificates of origin have been issued to businesses and economic operators, it means that businesses out there have begun using the AfCFTA to trade on the continent of Africa. The more reasons why you and I ought to have interest in this conversation to understand how you are able to move goods from one party state of the AfCFTA to the other, or from one region on the continent of Africa to the other. In this episode, in this edition of the podcast, we are going to talk about the customs administration. How do you deal with the customs administration on the continent of Africa? And what do you need to know about customs administration under the AfCFTA? Director Demitta Gyang is the head or the director in charge of the customs administration at the AfCFTA Secretariat to help us break everything down so that we're able to understand what you need to do in terms of meeting the needs of the customs administration of party states of the AfCFTA when you have to move goods across the continent. Director, it's a pleasure to have you.
It's a pleasure.
Did I pronounce the last name right?
Oh, you did. If you didn't, I will call you out for it.
You would have called me out for it.
Because you would have given me a different husband, and he might be watching.
A different husband.
Yes,
I can't give you a different.
Yeah.
I can't give you a different husband because I'm sure Mr. Gyang is the title right too.
Yes,
Mr.
the title
Gyang
is right.
is proud of you and is proud of the work that you've been doing on behalf of the AfCFTA Secretariat. Where are you from in the first place?
Okay.
Gyang means what?
Okay, so I'm from Nigeria.
Okay.
I am Igbo by tribe, but I'm married to somebody from the Middle Belt in Nigeria, which
Okay.
is then why the name Gyang.
Okay.
And so I'm married to somebody from Jos in the Plateau state of Nigeria.
Jos Plateau, yes.
Yes, Jos Plateau. Their names are actually animals.
I see.
Yes, the animals are. So Gyang is an antelope.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Whether I like
That's
being an antelope, I don't know.
But you have it
Gyang
now.
is an antelope.
That's your name
antelope,
now.
and I think it's a pretty animal.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. No, the antelope is pretty, and they are quite dynamic as well.
Yeah.
They have very good attributes, and a lot of people. That's why we pay a lot of money to go see them. They are very valuable.
Yeah.
And I'm not surprised that you're as dynamic, if not more than the antelope. And very speedy and swift at whatever they do. And we see you equally doing same on behalf of the Secretariat for the continent. Now, I mentioned earlier that you are the director in charge of customs administration at the AfCFTA Secretariat.
Yeah.
What does that entail, though?
Okay, so what it entails is that as part of the negotiations of the AfCFTA, and as part of the outcome of those negotiations, which is then the agreement, you have a couple of annexes and a couple of issues that have to do with the work that customs do, areas that are within the mandate of customs in various in their national jurisdictions. And so this work entails, based on what is envisaged within the AfCFTA agreement, I will start with Customs Corporation because customs is very critical to the movement of goods. You said that.
Yeah.
They are the frontline officers. They determine whether goods can come into a country or not. They are the main agency that determine that. And so in the AfCFTA agreement itself, you have an annex on Customs Corporation. What this annex is intended to achieve is that to then be able to ensure that goods cross borders in an efficient and in an effective way, customs need to cooperate with one another. Information needs to be exchanged.
Yeah.
There has to be mutual administrative assistance in terms of how these goods then move. There has to be harmonization of sorts between the work they do and how they do it.
Yeah.
And so that's what the Customs Cooperation Annex covers. It just then details out how we then hope that customs cooperates in the continent as they implement the AfCFTA agreement.
Yeah.
Then you also have another annex on trade facilitation. And most of the elements in that particular annex fall under the jurisdiction of the work that customs do. And so, so customs is there to ensure that goods move in an efficient and in an effective way. And then you have various articles that then has to do with their work, ranging from pre-arrival processing, ranging to advanced ruling, to risk management, to use of IT, and a couple of others. And so, so that annex is there, and then most of the provisions of that annex then deal with the work that the customs they do.
Okay.
And then you also have an annex on transit. Transit is another main key issue that customs also oversee. Not the only agency, but is a key agency in terms of then how goods transit across.
Okay, so when you say transit, what are you referring to? What does transit
Transit
entail?
simply means goods moving in a country that is not the destination.
Okay.
So, for instance, goods are traveling from, moving from Cote d'Ivoire. The intended destination is Nigeria.
Yeah.
Ghana will be a transit country.
Okay.
Togo will be a transit country.
Good.
Benin will be a transit country. There is also in-country transit, because then sometimes where the goods emanate from is not, they have to travel across the country. Within those townships that they go across different municipalities, they are on transit because that's not their final destination.
Put the technicalities of what's going on at the Secretariat aside and tell me, if I don't know customs, who are they?
So they are.
And what do they do?
Okay. So there are those men in uniform that most of
They're
us
always in
would
uniform?
like, not always, but
Okay.
they are in uniform that most of us would like to dislike because of the nature of their job, because they make a predetermination on whether your goods are allowed to cross a border into their jurisdiction. What are these determinations they make? They determine whether these goods, there is a tariff on them as might have been prescribed by their governments. Now, before such goods come into our territory, we have to take a certain amount of money from the traders for these goods to be able to proceed into the territory. That's one. They determine, in the case where there is a free trade area, whether these goods then meet the rules of origin that will then enable them to admit these goods into the country at a certain preferred rate or at no rate at all. You know, so they make this determination. And what helps them make this determination is then the rules of origin that those who then do the policies have said this is what will then qualify a good as an originating good. So they implement that. They also are those people who then ensure that the goods cross in an efficient and an effective manner, which will be trade facilitation, to say these are the documents that are needed for these goods to cross. These are the documents that you needed to have brought with you. This is declaration.
All the requirements.
All the requirements, all put together. They are those men that then take your documents, look at it, bill you if it is necessary, cross you where you meet all the requirements, and take some money.
The money angle.
The money angle, yes, where you pay for goods. And this dates back centuries. Customs have been there because kings thought at a certain point, in order to raise revenue, how do they then raise revenue? They thought it was necessary to tax goods that are traded within their various kingdoms to raise revenue for the king. And so it really actually
And to
dates
develop
back-
the kingdom.
And to develop the kingdom. So it really goes back a long way. Yeah.
And that's an interesting one that you've brought. You know, people don't really picture customs that way. So in it, and it's good you've taken us back to history. In the past, and several we've known several people that back then we didn't know they were customs officers, but today we look back and we can say they are customs officers.
Yeah.
Because they were collecting revenues on behalf of the countries.
They were collecting
Even in the
revenue.
Bible.
Yes. Even
Because
in the Bible.
we remember the story of Zacchaeus, I think.
We do. We do. We do.
Zacchaeus was a tax collector.
He was a tax collector, and you can tell the people didn't really like him because he was a tax collector, but he was collecting this revenue for the kingdom. Yes.
And that's a very interesting background that you give to this. So essentially, the monies ought to be collected. However, whether it's monies or sometimes even without monies, however, they are also supposed to regulate how the goods are moved to from one country to the other. Help me clarify. It doesn't include services. Customs administration, or it
But
doesn't
what they
include
offer
services.
is services, if
Yes.
you define service in that way.
But
But
they don't-
remember that trade has particular terminologies that are used. So it wouldn't be in the sense of trade in services.
Good.
Yeah. But what they offer are services.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they are offering services, but they're not regulating the movement of services. They are regulating movement of goods.
They are regulating movement of goods
Good.
in most jurisdictions.
Good.
Yes.
So let me say to our viewers that if, and at this point, if you are interested in moving goods from one African country to another, if you are interested in trading across one country, so long as it involves goods, this is a conversation you cannot afford to miss, particularly with Director Demitta Gyang that we have in the studio today. We expect you to share this link with all your partners everywhere. We expect you to like and ask questions. Bring the questions, and we will definitely get you the responses from Director as we proceed. Please, this is important because the continent is creating one single market, and she's giving us a background, even in history, way back into time. The issue of customs has been there. Zacchaeus was a customs officer. We are getting the understanding because he was collecting taxes and regulating trade and goods on behalf of his kingdom in the past. Help us understand why AfCFTA is interested in ensuring that the administration of customs across the continent of Africa is effectively done. Because somebody might think that every country has a customs administration.
Yeah.
Why is AfCFTA interested, particularly the Secretariat interested in customs?
Okay, I think you partially answered that question with your opening. Customs is very critical to the movement of goods. Very, very critical. Like we said, or like you said, they determine whether goods can cross a border into their territory or not. They have a set of rules that they go by, and then they determine whether these goods then meet those rules and they can be admitted into the country. And so the AfCFTA is a free trade area. It's a trade agreement. And this free trade area has a set of rules that has been agreed that will govern the movement of goods within the continent, going beyond national jurisdictions, the continent. Now, for these goods to be admitted from into one country coming from an AfCFTA, the customs officer needs to implement the AfCFTA rules, because these rules have been put down there to say these are the conditions that the AfCFTA goods can then assess a country that is an AfCFTA member state. This would include tariffs. We have tariff preferences that has already been agreed by member states. These tariff preferences, it is then the duty of the customs officer to then implement the tariff preferences based on what has been agreed by by the member states. So, for instance, it is for the customs officer to be able to admit an AfCFTA good and say, okay, so the tariff on this good is 5% because it's an AfCFTA good, and because we have tariff reduction, and because the tariffs have been reduced to this particular extent, and it is an AfCFTA good, this is the amount that should be paid, or that it is now at 0%, and so because it's an AfCFTA good, it's not going to pay any
Attract
amount,
any.
attract any. And so talk about the importance of customs, because that's what you are alluding to. Why are we then interested in the work they do? Yeah. Being that they are the major organization that then implements what we have written in the agreement, especially trading goods. It then becomes very important that we work with them to ensure that then the AfCFTA agreement is implemented, that they implement the agreed tariffs, that they then apply the agreed rules of origin to a particular product to then be able to give the tariff, the preference, that they then implement a trade facilitation. I mentioned a couple of areas in trade facilitation that actually customs is the main organization, the main agency that that has the mandate in countries to implement that. And then to facilitate goods in transit, like goods in transit are not supposed to be subjected to transit. There is freedom of movement for goods in transit, as long as it is not meant for your jurisdiction. You are meant to allow it to pass, except for maybe administrative charges, but not then taking duties, right?
Yeah.
So simply put, the interest is that trade agreements are mainly 90% implemented by customs.
I see. So these rules are supposed to be implemented alongside their country's own customs rules, or now that we have the AfCFTA rules, are they supposed to set aside those of the countries?
Okay, so customs operate in a standardized way. The rules you find within the AfCFTA agreement are not, we didn't reinvent the wheel. What we then did was to take the rules that ordinarily govern what the customs administrations do, and then make it AfCFTA rules. What do I mean by that? It wouldn't be strange that within the customs setup, they are involved in risk management.
Yeah.
Which you will find in the AfCFTA rules. It wouldn't be strange that they are involved in pre-arrival processing, which we'll find in the AfCFTA rules. It wouldn't be strange that they are involved in advanced ruling, which you will find in the AfCFTA rules. So it wouldn't be strange that they are already involved in customs cooperation, because then trading has been happening even outside the AfCFTA before the AfCFTA was born. What we need to do within the AfCFTA is then to ensure harmonization. And by harmonization, we don't mean replacement. Harmonization. How then do we harmonize the way you implement your set of rules with how it is implemented in that other state party that is your neighbor across the border? So it's all about harmonization. And the interesting thing is that they do have conventions, in other international conventions, that almost all of them are signatory to, that have standardized rules that they all seek to abide by. So it is not really, the AfCFTA is not out of the blues. No, it's not out of the blues. Customs have always implemented trade agreements. And so it is not something that calls for overhaul. What it calls for is an admission of the AfCFTA rules into their current systems. And when I mean by that, now we have a set of rules of origin. The AfCFTA never existed before. This is the first time it is existing. So this is the first time you have a set of rules that determine which goods originate from the continent. So in terms of, so it wouldn't be then changing their rules. It will then be now that in addition to whatever rules they had, they will now have to implement the AfCFTA rules of origin to determine which goods come from the continent, so that they can administer the preferences that is already agreed. I'll give you another example. So it wouldn't, the tariffs, normally goods go with tariffs, right? So what will they then need to do when it comes to the AfCFTA is just to have the AfCFTA tariffs in their system, because then now there is a different set of tariffs that will then apply to goods that are traded within the continent. But they would already have had a tariff system.
Yeah.
So
Prior
it is
to
just
the
prior
oncoming
to
of the
yes,
AfCFTA.
AfCFTA. So it's just creating that extra space then that these are
the
the
AfCFTA
exactly, and this is what they achieve by then gazetting the AfCFTA tariffs within their national jurisdiction.
The AfCFTA is focusing, or the AfCFTA Secretariat is focusing much on the implementation, because they've moved from negotiation and now the phase is implementation. I am believing that customs is mainly the implementation for trading
goods.
in goods.
In goods, yes.
Good.
So when you look at trading goods, like I said earlier, the focus when it comes to trading goods, most of the things that need to be done then fall within the work that customs do.
Yeah.
So it is safe to say that almost 95% of the agreements around trading goods is then implemented by customs.
Good.
And so looking at that, what then the Secretariat, if you look at the annexes that fall immediately under the work that customs should be doing, what the Secretariat has then tried to do as a Secretariat is to then facilitate the implementation of the commitments taken by member states, because actually the agreement is all about commitments taken by member states. You know, I will use IT in terms of how I process trading documents. I would do it electronically. I would carry out pre-arrival inspection, you know, and so on and so forth. And so what we have done as a Secretariat to be able to then fulfill this obligation of facilitating member states to implement their obligations within their commitments within the agreement. Good. What we have done is that we thought it was then best to have a focus on digitalization, because technology is here to make things easier. So what we then see in the work we have to do for member states to then live up to this commitment, how best, what tools can we place at their disposal that will then enable them do the work they've always done in a more efficient and an effective way. And so one of the things that we have done in terms of that is that we did put the AfCFTA e-tariff book out there. Remember, we've spoken a lot about tariffs. Yeah. It's all about what tariffs are applicable to the admission of a certain good into the country, right? So we have put the AfCFTA e-tariff book there. We thought it was a very useful tool to put out there to ease the work of customs, because with the AfCFTA e-tariff book, a trader can check the tariffs that are applicable to any particular product of interest that they want to export to another country. They can also check the rules of origin that is applicable, so that on their own they can make that determination whether the goods qualify to be exported as an AfCFTA good, and if it does qualify, what then is the prevailing rates that then will be applied to the goods, because then that's what that country has committed to. So we do have the AfCFTA e-tariff book there, easing the work of customs, easing life too for traders, because then with an informed trader who is who has met the rules, the requirements, it becomes easier for you to do your work.
Good. So I wanted to find out whether the AfCFTA Secretariat has a certain model that you want to achieve, and you began giving answers to that, or a certain vision of what you want a continental customs administration to look like.
An integrated customs.
An integrated customs.
And that's the word. That's the underlying word. An integrated customs, enabled by the digital world. An integrated customs. Good. But remember, I said integration does not necessarily mean that you set aside the full set of things that you're doing. It's about harmonization, which is what we have sought to achieve by some other tools that we have then developed or are in the process of developing. Let me give you an example with the e-certificate of origin. What the e-certificate of origin then does is that it enables you push the certificates of origin in a digital form from the country that is exporting the goods through a central platform that we are building for the AfCFTA to the destination, right? And so no papers moved whatsoever. So it saves you time, it saves you costs, it
Paperless.
saves the environment.
Yeah.
Saves the environment. And
Because
it
it's
is,
paperless.
yes, and it is cheaper. But then to speak to the issue of integration, you see, it would then require some level of integration of systems.
Yeah.
But it doesn't require you to change the system that you are using. So it's more like having an interface between whatever you are using already, whatever platform, whatever technology you are using to issue your certificates with that of the continental and then with that of the destination country. So it's all about integration. So what it is we hope to see at the end of the day is an integrated customs administration within the continent, because then that's what really enables goods to move in an effective and efficient way. Underline those two words: effectiveness, efficiency. It matters, because then it saves you time. It saves you money. And those who do business will say that time is money.
And which is what a lot of people talk about when they have to cross borders on the continent of Africa. The difficulties, the challenges here and there, the infrastructure gaps that we see on the continent. And as I, in the introduction, in your introduction, as I remarked, I have seen you inspect quite a number of borders. I've seen your work everywhere. But what is the background that you can paint for us? What is a picture of the gaps that we are seeing at the borders of the continent of Africa, which all the efforts that you are putting in place is seeking to address?
Okay, let me start that by first, when we started this work, we realized that it was good for us to have a field experience, a first-hand understanding of how goods move in the continent and what the challenges to that movement, what challenges might be there or not. And so what we did was that we carried out assessments of corridors. Why did we give it a corridor approach? We gave it a corridor approach because then we needed to see how that truck travels all the way from Cote d'Ivoire to Nigeria, for instance. How that truck moves all the way from the port of Mombasa, for instance, all the way to DRC. We needed to understand the various bottlenecks that are on the way, the various challenges that are on the way. How could this be then made more efficient? That was what the reason behind having some of those assessments. Now, what did we discover? Now, the challenges of crossing a border is multifaceted.
I see.
People would like to say it's all customs. If you talk about movement across the borders, the main agency that comes under fire is customs. But it is beyond customs.
There are other agencies as well.
Yeah, there are other agencies as well. Customs is a majority stakeholder, if I might refer to them that way in terms of how goods move, but there are other agencies. But the problems are multifaceted. They are multifaceted in the sense and in the way we then grouped them. One of them is infrastructure. So it is either the lack of the needed infrastructure or an infrastructure that is in a very poor state.
Okay.
So that is for the hard infrastructure. The problem is there. Sometimes the border crossing facility itself, the building, is actually needing a whole lot of improvements and maintenance. So it could be that.
And
it could
this is across the continent.
This is across the continent.
Regardless of the region you find yourself.
Regardless of the region. It could be the feeder roads. It could be the road through which you approach the border infrastructure in the first place. Then it could be soft a little bit, the systems. The systems within which these agencies do their work. And so you might find that it's either a no system, like analog, or it is partially there. And when we say partially there, you find that in most border crossings, the customs governance systems might be there, automated. But they might not be connected to, remember I said it is multifaceted, it's not just customs. They might not be connected to other agencies whose work also is related to the clearance of goods. For instance, if the good is an agricultural good, you will need the standards, the sanitary and phytosanitary measure people. If it's animals, you will need the those that are responsible for animals, to say this good is fit to cross after customs have
Could be
done the
veterinary
job.
officers
It could
and
be,
all
it could,
that.
so it's a whole lot. It could be those who look at technical barriers to trade, which is the standards people. It could be
And Food and Drugs
immigration.
Authority,
It could be immigration.
who is in charge of the
who is
movement of people.
Exactly. So you have a customs system that is automated, and then the customs can do their clearance. But remember, these goods move with people.
Yeah.
And so if customs have cleared the goods, it doesn't mean they
And
have
the
cleared
human
the
being is
individual.
not cleared.
And the human being needs to be cleared. And then the
By
human being
immigration.
might say, if the systems are not fully automated through, then you might find delay. So there are so many things that cause delays at the borders. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Great.
It is actually multifaceted.
Yeah.
And then there is also an element that is the people element.
Yeah.
When I say the people element, how informed are those field officers that are supposed to be implemented. I have tried out a little experiment, a quiz at a particular place that you would think ordinarily the knowledge of the AfCFTA has distilled through. And I asked them a simple, how many of us here know what the AfCFTA is? They didn't know.
Really?
And then the question that came to my mind, how then were you going to cross the AfCFTA goods? How then are you going to give the preference? How then are you going if you don't even know about it? So there are multiple there, and it is not just with the AfCFTA. It is also with other free trade agreements that they should be implementing at the border,
including their regional free trade agreements.
Exactly. So you also have that part. So and then you have the part where then the officers are not equipped to do the job that they are supposed to do. You have some jurisdictions where this knowledge stops at the capital. It doesn't distill down to those who are actually at the borders, seeing the goods, admitting the goods, and determining how the goods move. And so you also have that challenge. And when that is an issue, of course, it will cause delays. And then you have all that areas where there are delays. Sometimes it is the one I like is from Benin you can be seeing Nigeria, right?
Yeah.
But they are in different time zones.
I see.
Yes. So the man from Benin could have closed from work. And the man in Nigeria is still working. If you do not have,
what's the time difference? Are you familiar?
It's just 1 hour.
1 hour. But it's still, yes.
Yes.
If one is supposed to close at 4 p.m. and the other closes at 5 p.m.
Yeah. So you see, these are some of the issues that cause delays at the borders. But some of the standardizations that I talk about from some of the conventions that customs administrations are signatory to, talk about harmonizing this, because you might think it is, but it might mean that you would then have to wait a whole day. Yeah, after you've been cleared by the other side, because the other side has closed. It might mean you have to wait a whole day before your goods get cleared. It's also something as, I'll give you an example of an infrastructure area. So I've been to a border post where then it is, there is no energy, so there is no electricity. And so they have to close at a particular time when the sun goes down. So if you arrive at that time, that's it. You will sleep there till the following day. Because they cannot see, they cannot inspect the goods, they cannot, because then there is no electricity at the border. Sometimes it is things related to internet. A call has to be made, a transaction has to be made, but there is no, you cannot, you do not have access to do that. And at other times, it's also things like then officers just being a little bit slow in the way they then implement. Sometimes it is the documentation process that is just unnecessarily tedious and unnecessarily cumbersome. Some things that could be simplified. I'm sure you saw such a simplification at airports. Remember when you travel through airports, when you have that card that you're giving, you have to fill one for customs, then you fill one for immigration.
Immigrations, yes.
And they managed to say, you can have this
Let's
information.
put it together.
Let's put it together.
Yeah.
So you fill one form and you
and
go.
it cuts across, yes.
So sometimes it's also some documentation related requirements that actually keep trucks lined up at the borders and creates some of those difficulties. And then sometimes it is what we call the agencies not being together, because all
coordination among these
agencies, they are not together. You need to you need a clearance from maybe import license in place. The people are not there at the border. The agency is somewhere else inside the city. And if, when you then get to the border and then there is something required, you might have to go all the way back to. So it's multifaceted. Which is then why we are doing some of the things that we are doing, eliminating them gradually. So when we eventually have the e-certificate of origin up and running, it will reduce the crossing time at the borders, because then the certificates have gone ahead of you. It is in the systems of those who should then waive you to cross. They have already received it ahead of time before.
And they've seen that you've met the requirements
or otherwise. They've seen that you've met the requirements otherwise. It is in the single bond guarantee that we are also working on, because then the single bond, funnily, bonds can cause real bottlenecks at the borders. Because, oh yes, when you have to post a bond for every country you transit through, you have to stop. You have to get through the administrative processes. You have to, first of all, you have to acquire the bond for that particular country, and then acquire in the next, and then acquire in the next until you get to your final destination. And I have seen at a particular border crossing that we went to how bonds can be an issue. So they showed us trucks that are there, because then the bonds, new bonds cannot be issued because the bonds have not been acquitted, because then the bonds take a lot of money. And if you are going to be crossing through multiple jurisdictions, that's a lot of money. And if you do not then get to your final point, because that's from the point that the bonds will be acquitted, you cannot then begin to get new bonds, because even the guarantor will not issue you any bond. So we are taking off also this challenge of having to post multiple bonds by working on the AfCFTA single bond guarantee system, so that with a single bond you can then transit across the continent.
And that's a great one. So you've mentioned the e-tariff, you've mentioned the e-certificate, you've mentioned the single bond, and I'm also happy that you've taken time to enumerate quite a number of the challenges that personally you can recall around the borders that we have on the continent. But are there other products that the Secretariat is bringing across? Because the issue of tracking, for instance, and I recall back in my days at the Ghana Ports and Airports Authority, how you even track containers that are moving from one country to another to ensure that they are not diverted, and all of that became a serious issue. What are the other products that you have as a Secretariat to address some of the difficulties that you have enumerated so beautifully?
Just mentioned it. So you took the words out of my mouth. One of the products that we're actually working on an integrated transit scheme. That integrated transit scheme would have the bond element. It will have the AfCFTA transit document, which is more like a declaration document. It would have the continental electronic cargo tracking system. Because to then emphasize the bonds can only work effectively with an effective tracking system, because then the bonds are all about customs security, because you want to be sure that you didn't lose your revenue. I mean, the goods, if they are not meant for your territory, they shouldn't then be discharged at your territory, and then you lose revenue, potential revenue. So the bonds are actually in place, to guarantee that security of revenue for customs. But this can be achieved in a better way with trackers. And so we are learning from what has happened in the Eastern African community, because they do have a regional tracking system. Almost every country has a tracking system.
Yeah.
But then it's that it tracks from border to border. Then you have to remove the trackers, and then the next country will have to affix their trackers. Yeah. But what the East African community managed to achieve is a regional cargo tracking systems. Yeah, that once the trackers are fixed, let's say from the port of
cuts
Mombasa,
across the entire region.
It cuts across the region. You can see the goods, you can monitor, you can know when a trucker has diverted, you will know when he stops, you will know when he is spending more time than he should in a particular place. There are rapid response systems that you can then go check out what is happening to the goods, and then they can attest that there has been so much has been saved, trade has increased. Good. And it's a success story. So it's a success story that we also want to build on.
And the trackers are very well fixed, and it's not removable, because that used to be some of the complaints we used to hear, that sometimes if he has to cross the other country, maybe he gets to, if he moves from one East African country, say Uganda, to maybe Kenya, by the time it gets there, they can remove it and put something else there and all that.
Well, I saw
it's working very well there.
No, I saw a very interesting scenario in Nigeria, because Nigeria is just implementing a tracking system within the country, and of course, Nigeria with size, it's really a sizable distances to track. And the trucker decided he was smart, and he thought, okay, if I do not go on the designated lane, and I do some form of zigzagging,
a bush lane,
go forward, come back, go across, go like this, he will be able to confuse the track.
Yeah, they will lose track of
they will lose track of tracking. And it was interesting that as they were showing us this in the monitoring system, the thing is that the trackers come with a monitoring system.
Oh, good.
So as the trucker was zigzagging, it showed.
They could monitor that.
They could monitor that. Yes, he went this way, he went that way, then he went this way, then he came this way.
Interesting.
And then, of course, that was immediately an alarm. What is happening? Why is he going back, going forward, going across, going, And then finally, they were able to show us at the point when he had done all this, he thought that was okay. Now they've lost track of me. I can
now divert.
I can now remove the tracker.
The tracker. Oh,
yes. See. And so at the moment, from the moment it was tampered with, all the alarms in the systems beeped to show that they could be removed. So there is that monitoring system to monitor then the tracker. And what is being tracked.
Good.
Yeah,
that's good.
So that's we intend to deploy this continentally. Good. And since you asked about other things that we are doing,
the other products, please.
And so we are trying to work on authorized economic operators as a way of facilitating trade. It's something that has been there. It's a part of how one of the schemes through which goods can move, where you then have authorized economic operators. Operators that you process, and you have details of their businesses, of what they do and how they do it, and so that you can give them preferences.
Good.
So once they have passed through the scheme and they are successful in being admitted as an authorized economic operator, you can, when they come, you don't have to really stop them at the borders. They can move. So what we are doing about it is that we then want a mutual recognition of not just countries then implementing the authorized economic operators. We are trying to see a guideline that can simplify it, because where it is not being implemented, they say the process it's not really simplified. So it's difficult for most companies to meet up with the requirements. Yeah. But then we're trying to simplify that in a way that it will still be secure, but more businesses can meet up. But we're also working on it being mutually recognizable, so that an authorized economic operator in Kenya can be recognized by Nigeria as an authorized economic operator, so that when he is moving goods to Nigeria, he will enjoy the same preferences. Yeah.
But and this is supposed to be continent-wide.
Yes.
Okay, so economic operators
Authorized economic operators.
who are now authorized and they are formalized. So you
Yes.
would have a list of all these people.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Exactly.
That wouldn't be a bad idea.
Exactly.
So the economic operator in the Sahel, for instance, if you take Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, for instance, you have all of them in a database.
Oh, yeah.
Just as you would have for Benin, Ghana, and all that.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
That should
oh, yes.
be a beautiful
And
one.
the interesting thing about this is that countries have reached out to us
Already?
Yes, already, and they said they have indicated interest in having the AfCFTA help them implement the authorized economic operators.
Good. So this is going to be done at the country level.
It is going to be done at the country level.
At the
and
continental
then
level, the secretariat to
the
put
database.
it together.
Yes.
Good. Another area that, as you add on to the product, and maybe this one you may have a product or a solution for it, is the digital system infrastructure across the borders and across the countries. How are you ensuring that they are harmonized? Because as we know, Ghana may be having the integrated customs management systems. Burkina Faso or Mali may be having the ASICUDA. You go to Central Africa, maybe having ASICUDA. How are you harmonizing all these customs digital platforms?
So what we did first was to have an understanding of what is available in the continent, what digital platforms are various customs administrations using. So we found out there are about 36 countries actually using a ASICUDA system. I mean, it could
I
be
see. That's wide.
Yeah, that's wide. It could be ASICUDA plus, it could be ASICUDA plus, but either way ASICUDA.
It's still
It could be
ASICUDA.
yes, ASICUDA. And then you have a couple of countries using their own in-house developed systems.
Yes.
You have a couple of countries like that, and then you have a couple of countries using the Korean Unipass system.
Unipass,
But
yes.
what we have come to understand and what we see as the future is not really then saying, okay, don't use ASICUDA, use your own system. Is an interface that connects. And in this interface, you would understand, from what we have come to understand, is that it's not a question of data standardization. If you can standardize data, if countries can come together and agree to the data that they want to exchange, you just need an interface that then enables the Ghana ICOM system to be connected to the Togo ASICUDA. So Ghana does not have to then change its ICOM system.
Yeah.
Togo does not have to change its ASICUDA system. But there will be an interface that would enable the systems to speak to each other. And this is technologically possible.
I see.
Yes. So that's what we are working. That's what we are working towards. How then do we have this interface that then connects the different governance system? I will tell you, the biggest issue is not the technology to connect. The biggest issue there is the political will by these different countries to say, I want to exchange information with you. Yeah, that's the biggest issue. That's why they then need to standardize data, because it's also a little bit sensitive, because then they cite security concerns in terms of exchanging the data with their neighbors. I mean, there are certain things that you import that you might not then want that data out there, in the open. So it's for countries, which is also one of the things that we've achieved with the e-certificate of origin. With the e-certificate of origin, we have harvested the first data set in the continent. Because then we had customs IT experts come together and agree that when it comes to the e-certificate of origin, this is the data that they are willing to exchange. So we have that standardized data set, which will then make the connection possible when we begin to push the e-certificates.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to ask you, how you are able to convince the particularly the political leadership on the continent, in getting some of these things done, because you want to say Nigeria, if Nigeria is using, let's say, West Blue window system, and maybe Benin is using ASICUDA, and Nigeria may not want to see the amount of particular product that is coming from here, and this one doesn't want to see, how are you getting the countries to understand that this is the way the continent is going? We are creating a single market. It doesn't intend to disrupt what you already have.
It's engagement.
But it's
engagement. You just to have to continually
Engage
It's
the member
engagement.
countries.
The member countries. Like how we were able to achieve the data set for the e-certificate of origin. It's engagement. It's we came together, we reasoned. This is what data do we want to exchange, because that's what this boils down to. And then we did prepare a draft, and they say take away this one. We don't want to exchange this one.
Good.
Okay, include this one.
So they can negotiate.
They can
what goes into
negotiate.
it.
It's engagement. It's engagement. And when they then agree to what they really want to exchange, it's engagement.
Yeah.
It's not something that you get out
It's
of
not
the
rigid.
blues. No, it's engagement, and with understanding. And then you begin to see that you are not really, your systems are not really being jeopardized or endangered in any way. Yeah.
Let's talk about and you even started talking about the capacity and the understanding of the officers who are supposed to do these works. So you move away from infrastructure, you move away from the political will, and the regular officer who is behind the desk, who is supposed to understand that the continent is creating a single market and there's a secretariat leading it, which is pushing, and at this point at the stage of implementing this. How do we build the capacity of officers and customs administrators on the continent of Africa to embrace where we are?
It's
Implementing AfCFTA.
Yes, it's something that we have implemented now for 2 years running. We had a robust capacity building plan in 2024, where we actually did a needs assessment. We had various customs administration send us areas where they think there is a gap in terms of capacities that they will need, and we were able to roll out in 2024. Building the capacity of various customs administration, but we gave it a regional focus, and so we bring a particular region together, and then we build their capacity in any selected area of any prioritized area on their part, and so we do have that needs assessment that we did in terms of where they wanted their capacities built to be able to implement the AfCFTA. We did continue in 2025, and 2025 was also a big success. It was incremental. We were able to build the capacity of more number of customs officials across the 5 regions of the continent. We are also then continuing in 2026. It will be a yearly thing. For 2026, we are targeting about 8 capacity building activities, both virtual and physical, across various subject areas from the AfCFTA, where the customs are supposed to be implementing, for them to then understand the letters of what has been written into the AfCFTA agreement that they should be implementing. But we are going beyond that. We are also trying to make it sustainable. Yeah. We've been asked by the customs administration to then work with the regional training centers, to work with the various customs institutes, and so that we can have a curriculum that can then be introduced into their various customs institutes, a curriculum that covers the AfCFTA, and so that when they send their officers the various courses there, they are then trained on the AfCFTA. And then we're also developing training materials, standardized training materials in all areas related to customs, which we then use for these trainings. And so this is what we have been doing. Good. And so we have also increased our target number of customs officers to be trained in 2026, where we were actually aiming for more numbers than we had in 2025. But this is an area that we understand, because we understand that these are the frontline people that will implement the agreement, and if their capacity is not built, we will not be able to achieve the goals that we set out to achieve. So we do that, and we do that. We also try to collaborate with various training institutes to be able to deliver this. When I say to know, well, not really training institutes, we collaborate a lot in this area with the World Customs Organization, which is then the main international organization responsible for customs. So we collaborate with them in terms of technical expertise from their part, and then we also try our best to be part of the trainings they organize on their own, and we try to make it AfCFTA focused.
Good. And on that one, the e-tariff book that you
Yes,
built,
yes.
was it in partnership with the Customs, World Customs
Yes,
Organization?
it
for
was.
instance?
It was.
Yeah.
It was. The support came from them. The
Okay.
support came from them, and then we've had support in terms of HS harmonized system migration.
Systems, yes.
They transpose the schedules. We've had cooperation from them to be able to.
So what you have is a global standard, essentially.
Yes, what we have is a global standard. No, global standard. Even the even the e-certificate of origin, we actually benchmarked with the data model they had at the WCO, and we were able to actually map our data against their data, saw the fields that are similar. So ours happens to have more field. We want to exchange more information than globally. Yeah.
Good. And you know the focus is to create a single market. Do you see officers or customs in particular, and we all talked about it and laughed over it from the beginning, that it started from ancient history, customs work and customs administration, with Zacchaeus being our model, collecting revenue on behalf of his country, at the time his kingdom, and all of that. But how do customs balance revenue generation and also ensuring trade facilitation? Because they are interested in collecting the money. They are interested in making the money on behalf of their countries, member countries, and all of that. But at the same time, AfCFTA is seeking to ensure that people are able to move goods across the regions without these tariff impediments. How are we conscientizing the officers to ensure that even though they need the money and they need the revenue, they should balance that with trade facilitation on the continent?
It's a focus that came into would I say existence with the trade facilitation agreement that was signed at the WTO level, where then increasingly customs should focus on trade facilitation, more on trade facilitation than the original core focus of just revenue collection. And you know what has been found out? That the more they facilitated trade, the more the revenue.
I see.
Oh yes, that's the way it works. That's the way it works.
The more they facilitated trade,
the more the revenue. Remember, if you keep 1,500 trucks, right, at your border crossing, not crossing to then pay this revenue,
and they sit there,
you
don't get the money.
No, you don't get the money.
Yeah.
So if you then facilitate trade, you've simplified procedures, you've made the procedures more friendly, and then you implement what you have to implement. Then you have more turnover. And it's simple mathematics.
More will move, and you make more money.
Exactly.
That's
that.
I hope they all understand and they see it.
I see that, and so yes, I have come across a couple of administrations that is actually really their focus. How do we make these things better? Which is also why they have automated. Which is also why they are modernizing. Which is also why you have them more and more using risk management, risk profiling, using traders database, using a selection to determine which goods then do we go into these details about inspecting. So you find more and more of them are actually into risk management. Risk management then balances it for you, because you want to facilitate trade, but at the same time, remember, customs is also somehow responsible for security.
Yes.
You want to balance, you want to do trade facilitation, but also have to balance security, as well as balance the fact that you need to collect revenue. So it is actually looking at it as a whole that gives you the ultimate result.
It's customs. And as we're wrapping up around the technical side of this interview, the customs administration, is customs only interested in the tariff, or AfCFTA Customs Administration only interested in the tariff difficulties, the tariff impediments, the tariff barriers, or you're also considering the non-tariff barriers?
So, non-tariff barriers have a wide definition. There are customs-related non-tariff barriers.
Yes.
But there are non-tariff barriers that are not related to customs.
Customs.
Remember when I said there are, it's multifaceted.
Yes.
So something
Other
to do with,
agencies,
so it
yes.
was something to do with sanitary and phytosanitary measure is not customs.
Customs.
Something to do with technical barrier to trade is
Veterinary
not customs.
services.
It's not customs. You know, but there are customs-related non-tariff barriers.
Okay.
Okay.
Like border, you have a lot of borders. So if you take some of the West African border countries, for instance, before a good move from the port of, let's say, Tema in Ghana to, let's say, Paga, the border before Burkina Faso, for instance, you would have seen about 60 or more. A lot of people count more than checkpoints. Some including customs officers.
Yeah, some including customs.
These are supposed to be non-tariff barriers.
Yeah, so multiplicity of checkpoints. It's a non-tariff barrier. But I'll give you one that is actually very simple and it could actually make you laugh. You know, the language is also a non-tariff barrier.
Language barrier. It's true.
Yeah.
It's
so
true.
you're crossing Ghana, you're crossing into Togo, and then you have
you don't speak French.
You don't speak French. You have your English declaration, and the customs man is looking at it, and I mean, for all UK, he cannot understand
whatever you've written. Yes.
So sometimes you have to wait. If you're unlucky, maybe you have to wait for the
translator.
The translator. It has to be translated.
I see.
It has to be translated.
Is this being addressed by the Secretariat?
So it is one of the things that we realized from the work we tried to do at the Abidjan-Lagos corridor, because then you have that mixture. And then we tried to learn from how then it was solved when Burundi joined the EAC, because then Burundi was French-speaking. And so how was that problem then solved? And we realized that it could be solved, one, capacity building. You can actually train officers that are at border posts
to be multilingual.
To be multilingual, give them certification for that, though there is a bit of politics to it, because then you are not allowed to speak what is not your national language. So you process documents in your national language. But that that could be done, where then they are certified as multilingual people, to also then work with governments to actually deploy multilingual, especially when you have a border crossing with another country that does not speak the language, your national language, to then have officers that are sent to such posts to be bilingual. There is also a move to then see, can you then use the language of the border area as the common lingua franca? Because if you also notice the way borders are, you find that from both sides of the border, close to the border, they speak the same language. Yeah, they speak the same language. I'm sure with the border you have, the Nuelubo border, I'm sure they all speak, because I see Akwaba even when I cross over to the other side.
See.
So you see that they have a common language, right? Yeah. The same thing, Bini, around the where you have the Semekrake border, they all speak Yoruba.
It's
so
true.
can you also use the local language, because from the way the border lines were drawn, you basically divided people that had the same language. So that's also another way. But the other way is, why don't you have this in both French and English?
The documentation.
Yes. Why don't you have it in French and in Spanish? Should it be the documentation? So that you feel whatever it is you're feeling. There is a...
You leave the English version or you leave the French version.
Yeah, the French version is also a way of... that's a non-tariff barrier. It's a barrier, all right. It's a requirement. He has to read your language. But it's... It is what it is.
You've got a lot on your shoulders, Madame Demitta. And I'm happy that you mentioned initially that Mr. Gyang understands.
He does. He's the original antelope. Because he's the
original antelope.
Because he's the Mr. Gyang.
Original antelope. I like that. But it's a good thing that you mentioned that, because I've been wondering, and I'm sure that a lot of people who see you under the leadership of the Secretary General of the Secretariat, His Excellency Wam Kelemene, you are carrying on your shoulders the weight of the customs administration of the continent, to ensure that all these works are happening together with your colleagues at the Secretariat, to make sure that we have a harmonized system on the continent, easy movement of goods on the continent, and all of that. I tend to wonder, What at all does Madam Demitta do when you are not doing customs, when you are not at the borders and all of that? What do you do?
I eat. I love food. I love food, you know?
The Nigerian food or the continental food?
You see, so when I say I love food, it means that I love food from wherever.
I see.
You see?
You don't mind?
I do not mind.
Whether it's swallow or
no,
whatever
it is a basic. And don't let me tell you the story a Ghanaian man told me about swallow. He said he traveled to Nigeria and then they ordered what they wanted to eat. And then the waitress said, "What swallow do you want to go with it?" And he said that was a strange swallow. That is only swallow he knew was a bird. And he said he whispered to his son, these Nigerians, they are always up to what are they saying? What is swallow? You know. So I love food. I love food. I love experimenting with tastes, you know. So I do love food. I used to say to my colleagues outside the work to say I enjoyed going to a particular country.
Yeah.
It's the food.
I see.
It's
so whichever country you visit, you try to
I have
enjoy
to try the food. And it has to be food that is from that country. Oh, the first thing I go for is the food. Whether it's a taxi driver, I ask, what do you eat here?
I see.
And you know, some of them start trying to be touche and start mentioning continental things. And I'm like,
diplomatic food.
This is not
you
what
want to come down.
Give me the banku and tilapia. You see? Yeah. So I love food.
Just to test you a little bit on that. So which of the countries have you tasted the best of foods?
Well, you want me to tell you what I said to my colleagues once? I said, okay, so we've traveled far and wide the continent.
Almost everywhere.
And then you want me to tell you the best country? And they were all ears. And I said, my country. And they started laughing.
Nigeria will always own it.
And they started laughing. But no, so it is not the country that gives me the best. To tell you to the extent I love food, I can express things for you. You see, I say that in South Africa, food still has its original taste. You taste food in South Africa. You can taste the original taste of this food. It is that fresh, right? That tells you the extent to which I love food. It is that fresh. So it is something from everywhere.
Yeah.
It is something from everywhere. It is for me in Ghana. It is the kontomire.
Good.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
The greens.
I
it's
love
quite
it.
nutritious.
Yeah, it is. I can use it for my rice. I can use it for my swallow. Sometimes I use it for my Nigerian swallow.
Good.
When it comes to the francophone countries, it is acheke.
Yeah.
I love it.
And that's quite. It cuts across countries as well.
Yeah. So but I love acheke all the way from Togo to Côte d'Ivoire to Senegal. I love acheke. Right? So it is so in Egypt, you know, I found something. I love their fruits. I love their fruits. Funnily, the fruits are so creamy. Whether it is the mango or the white guava or the strawberry,
there's a lot of cream.
There's a lot of cream in it. So it's not. So it's not a particular country, you know, with the best food. One thing I have gained from the experience is that everywhere has something to offer.
Great.
Is. Do you find it?
Great. We wish you well in your endeavors as leading this whole agenda in the area of customs administration, and we congratulate you for the immense work that you have done so far. We pray for good health for you, so that you continue to do a lot more for the continent. We appreciate you.
And discover more food.
And this and make Mr. Gyang also happy.
Oh yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me say to viewers that we'll be bringing a lot of the sectors that are being engaged by the Secretariat to you, and we encourage you to share on all your platforms and with all your colleagues. Thank you for watching.